Hi, I'm Jessica Bliss, reporter at the Tennessean newspaper, and I'm here with my colleague Nate Raw. And we have spent the last 2 months looking into the topic of texting and driving. In Sunday's newspaper, we're going to have a special section devoted specifically to the issue, exploring everything from Tennessee's enforcement of the law to the real-life family impact and the psychology behind texting and driving in people's decisions. We wanted to talk to you a little bit about that today. And Nate, I know to start off with, you really looked heavily into the issue of enforcement. Can you tell us a little bit about the law and what local law enforcement is doing to actually enforce that?
Sure. So Tennessee passed a law in 2009 that bans texting while driving. So we knew it was illegal. But it's one of those things where, just descriptively, we all feel like when we're on the road, we constantly see people on their cell phones. And we wanted to know, this is supposed to be illegal. What are the police doing to enforce this? What's going on? And what we found out really was our law is not being enforced very much. We basically looked at traffic records for 15 Middle Tennessee law enforcement agencies plus the THP. And we saw that since the law took effect in 2010, there's been increases in the number of tickets they're writing, but still minuscule, really. The most we saw written by any agency in any 1 year outside of the THP, obviously, which is a statewide agency, was Metro Nashville, which wrote 52 tickets last year. So we know it's illegal. There's academic studies telling us it's dangerous, it's leading to accidents, and yet officers are having a really hard time enforcing it. It's not that they don't see it. You and I talk to officers with THP, we talk to Metro Nashville, and they tell us they know it's a problem. The law has a loophole in that you have to be moving while you're texting for it to be illegal. And it has a carve-out for expressly dialing your phone. So the officers who are pulling people over who they suspect were on their phone have to essentially get that driver to admit it. That's what they're telling us. And some agencies told us they feel like they do admit it pretty often. But they're not going to subpoena your phone records to see if you were sending a text for a $50 citation. That's how much our fine is in Tennessee. So basically, they're writing tickets for the effect of the distracted driving. They see you run a stop sign, you were on your phone. I can't prove you were on your phone, is what the officer will tell us. So I'm going to write you a ticket for running the stop sign. A lot of agencies said they're writing tickets under the due care law, which says you have to maintain an appropriate amount of attention to the roadway while you're driving. Kind of obvious law. Right. But I think what our reporting shows is that our legislature is going to be, our reporting shows our legislature, well, specifically, we know is going to consider strengthening our law. Mm-hmm. Representative John Lumberg said he was interested in strengthening Tennessee's law to increase the fine and get it in line with some other states that have seen their law have an impact.
Right.
So that was what law enforcement lawmakers told us about the issue here. But what we also wanted to tell the story of how this impacts people and really the dangers of distracted driving. And I know you spent some time with the family who knew that firsthand.
Yeah. We talked to a family, the Colfarb family, who lives in Kentucky. And the daughter of that family, Hillary, rolled her white cabrio convertible while she was driving to meet the family to dinner because she was texting and driving. She was ejected from her car. She had significant injuries, and she was life flighted to Vanderbilt. And we, talked to her mother, and we talked to the trauma doctor at Vanderbilt, and we really heard a lot about her story. She had brain surgery. She has lost her memories. She had to regain, everything from the ability to walk, the ability to talk. She had to learn, her mom had to change her diapers as she was regaining all these things. And she has memories that she's never going to get back. She has events amnesia, which basically means, the experiences that she shared with her mother, her, father, her loved ones, those are gone. So she has no really way of connecting with them anymore. And it's all a result of, her decision to text and drive. And her mom is very adamant about telling their story. And she says, she tells the ugly story on purpose because she so much wants people to understand the dangers of this. And I think, even though we all kind of understand what can happen, there's kind of this mentality of it won't happen to me. And I think the mom, is very, very adamant about telling people it can happen to you and it will happen to you. So we tell Hillary's story as kind of an example of what can happen.
One of the things that I think we learned in our reporting from the advocates, like the Calthorpe family, from the police officers and others who really are the most educated on this, is they're dealing with such deeply embedded behavior. And you examined that in one of the stories. Can you talk about, the psychology behind why people text and drive?
Absolutely. I mean, there really is a psychology behind it. Your brain is wired to send kind of these enjoyment chemicals when communication is done with you. You and I talking to each other and us being able to talk information about ourselves. That all tells our brain to tell our body, oh, this is fun, we like this, let's keep doing that. So when you have a text message sent to you and you're excited to know, oh, who wants to talk to me now? And just because of the way normal conversation takes place, I ask you a question, you respond. You ask me a question, I respond. Texting kind of mimics that because it's so immediate and so easy that people feel like, if they get a text, they have to respond right away because it's like rude if you were to ask me a question and I didn't respond right away. So all of that kind of really leads to reinforcing that behavior, and your brain is really telling you to. The other interesting thing that a lot of the psychologists said was that when you're driving, you kind of lose the capacity to say no to other bad instincts because you're concentrating on driving, that your brain loses that ability. So if you're concentrating on driving, then you don't have the wherewithal to say, oh, don't pick up that phone. It kind of just leads naturally to you being able to do it because you can't inhibit that. So, we really just kind of explored why people can't stop. And one of the psychologists told me specifically that the best way to stop this behavior is through messaging, through what, local corporations and stuff like that are doing to make sure that the behavior is known to be dangerous and to reinforce that. And I know you talked to a couple of local businesses and national businesses about what kind of messaging they're doing. Can you tell us about that?
So really, the battlefront for getting society to stop texting and driving are these special ads that are aimed at, raising awareness of how dangerous texting and driving can be. And we've all seen the ads on billboards. We see them on television. We see them on the internet. And Nashville is uniquely situated because some of these corporations are right in our backyard. We have AT&T, who has spearheaded the It Can Wait campaign, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. And we've got Bridgestone right here, who has launched a national awareness effort aimed at trying to really put a number to how many people are texting and driving, who's texting and driving. And our package is going to look at that and talk about some of those statistics. But not just up here with AT&T and Bridgestone, you also have a local sports marketing firm that we looked at that has landed some contracts with state governments across the country to raise awareness to safe driving issues. They've gotten, they're called Alliance Sports Marketing. They've gotten contracts for curbing drunk driving, raising seatbelt use. And just last year, they went into the distracted driving area too, where they had a contract in Maine. So it's kind of interesting to see how local this issue really is. And they took a creative approach to their marketing campaign. They went into high schools and they had students set up tables at sporting events in Maine, basketball, football, hockey, since it's Maine. And the students had signs that said one text could wreck it all. And they had a billboard and they had thumb bands that they passed out sort of as that reminder, like you said, to block that psychological behavior. And they're not suspecting that the kids are going to put on the thumb band every time they drive, but it's that reminder that's there to kind of break that embedded behavior that is leading to such dangerous driving out there. So it seems like it's catching on, right? I mean, Werner Herzog, the renowned documentary filmmaker, He even entered this issue and filmed a documentary for the It Can't Wait campaign. And we're going to tell some of the stories of the people who were involved in that film and in that messaging effort. And our goal was to sort of, throughout this package, to tell from start to finish, police, real people. We did, and we're going to have an online element to this story as well that's going to talk about everything from talking to real people on the street. We literally cornered people and like, tell us about your texting and driving habits. And we've got so many online elements to this package. Talk about some of the ones that you're most excited about, you want to draw people's attention to.
Well, I definitely think like our mini documentary. You mentioned Werner Herzog, and he's done an incredible 30-minute documentary with the 8 Can Wait campaign. We've taken what we unearthed in our reporting and kind of put it all together in a little bit of a story. And we've got sound bites from those enforcement officers, from the people who have been impacted by it, and from the people who are behind the campaigns, just to really tell the story in a personal way and to put some faces to what's going on. I really think another thing that you really shouldn't miss is the traffic stop. We have a video of an actual traffic stop of a cop from cop dash cam behind a truck that was swerving off the road, and all the way from when he pulled it over and talked to, you can hear his conversation with the driver, who admits that they were on their cell phone when they pulled him over. I think those are really powerful examples of what this whole issue is about. What other things are you excited about?
Well, I'm really excited about the texting and driving simulator that we built for Tennessean.com. So if texting while driving isn't something that you do, but you want to get a sense of how distracting it is, you're going to be able to go on our website and try our simulator out and really see how fast were you going. The simulator has you enter a very simple text and try to maintain your vehicle on the road while you're sending that text. And I tried it; it's very difficult, and I think people honestly will be enlightened at how hard it is. One of the statistics that we saw that I think resonated with both of us was if you're going 55 miles an hour and you take the time it takes to read or send a typical four-word text, you travel the length of a football field.
Yeah.
So you can if texting while driving isn't something you do, but you have a family member that does, you can experience this for yourself and really see how distracting it can be. So that's all we have for today. Please check out Tennessean.com and your Sunday newspaper to read more about this issue. And thanks for joining us.